You can have heard this episode 48 hours early on our Patreon, patreon.com/indieheadspodcast. By joining us for as low as $1 a month, or receive episodes early and gain access to our Discord server. All of our upcoming episodes will be up on our Patreon 48 hours before it hits our public podcast feeds. But if you're hearing this via our Patreon feed, we thank you so much for your support. We especially want to thank our Real Ones patrons, including Becca Etienne, Jordan Mikowski, Alex Gershmanoff, Rana Cruz, Alan S., Baby Bucco, Josiah Duncan, Janelle Fleur, Grant in the Back of My Dracula, Pablo Escobar's Hippos, Jackson Christ, Alec Felder, Sadie Nemo, Jeremy Bowl, Jonathan David, Sarah Moore, Max Kapazinski, Mark Barry, Aaron Helsamer, Darian Fisher, Gayors420, Cal 50, Doodoo Ass, Chris Wade, Jacqueline Cotiga, Jake Wald, Eraserhead Baby, Rob Marino, Max, Dylan, Waffle113, and Maze Farms. To become a real one, consider supporting us for $5 a month on Patreon, or receive a bonus episode every month and get a shout out at the top of the pod. Anyways, though, enjoy the episode.
Hello. Welcome, everybody. It's Best New Podcast, Episode 3. We're still talking about the 2010s. We're talking about all the songs that got Best New Track from Pitchfork in the 2010s. And this week, I am so glad that we are joined by two wonderful guests, because all the hosts are in a weird zone this week, is what I will say right off the bat. We'll get into that later, but first, welcome to the podcast return guests, Chris Wade and Molly O'Brien from And Introducing Podcast.
What's up? How are you guys?
Hello.
So good to have you. Yeah, as we were saying, like, I'm excited to talk about this playlist. I think a lot of these songs are, like, there's a really interesting conversations we can have about all of them, but this is, like, the least engaged I've been with a playlist in a while because of the fact that I have literally listened to nothing but Ethel Cain for, like, 7 days straight. But
well, I was going to say, just to start off, like, it's nice to be here. I mean, I wouldn't consider like a go-to playlist that I would put together, but it's nice to be here to talk about like normal, reasonable songs rather than
this is true
nightmares that you usually have us engage
with.
This
is true.
Yeah.
With this exercise, it is inherently a different vibe because all of the songs reach a certain level of, like, Pitchfork gave this, but it's usually, I mean, there are a couple examples of like what the fuck were they thinking, but for the most part,
there was a critical eye at.
They're at least mediocre, you know.
Ear at places,
like they're at least reaching some sort of barrier that it's like, if someone is into this, you could be like, oh, you can at least squint and be like, okay, I guess I see why that's. Whereas in other playlists, it is really like running through gauntlets, and that's why we've just sort of set up this system with our patrons, where our patrons every week put us through torture gauntlets, and we also do it to each other. But on this, we're gonna have some fun with these songs too, because I mean, the first song we're talking about right off the bat feels like a song we would cover on the main line. Like, there'd be some playlist that we would cover this song as a part of. The first, Rose, what is our first song this week?
Let me introduce it with the words of critic Ryan Domble here, August 22nd, 2010. When Marvin Gaye found his girls ditching him on his version of Heard It Through the Grapevine, all he could do was pine after her. The same goes for Motown heroes The Temptations on songs like I Know I'm Losing You, or even The Supremes and Stop in the Name of Love. But even though they were wallowing, an indignant stubbornness came across. Away from the microphone, they might chew out an X more bluntly. A few decades on, CeeLo does just that, exploding an instrumental steeped in 1960s pop while taking supreme joy and flipping some gold digger the bird. It's fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you, CeeLo Green.
Hell yeah.
I think this song is a more fun song to think about in concept than it is to listen to, I will admit, because when you realize it's like 4 minutes long, it is a little time prismy, but it's meant to be enjoyed in 30-second snippets.
My journey with this playlist this week was like putting this on, just hearing this song immediately, just going, oh no. And just like, it didn't get better after that, it just got worse. And then sometime like Monday or Tuesday, I like listened to R.E.M. for the first time again in a few months. I was just like, oh yeah, this is the best band of all time, I'm just gonna listen to this for the rest of the week.
Yeah, we were all on our own. Matty had COVID all week.
You two have very different stories from me. So Wednesday morning, I woke up feeling the worst I have ever felt in my entire life. Well, maybe not my entire life. The worst I felt in a very long time. And I immediately knew, oh, fuck, I finally got it. The novel coronavirus. It has finally hit me. As I have said,
I thought you were immune, Matty.
That's the thing. For months and months and months, I have said that I am immune from the novel coronavirus.
I mean, with
because
some of
I've
the
had
calls you have, like I had talked myself into it. My mom was like, "Okay, maybe Matty is immune to the coronavirus." like there were so many times you should have gotten it, and I think the fact that you finally did get it at the drawing room is very funny. Like you
Yes.
you tempted fate exactly one too many times.
Exactly. So after months and months of claiming this, it finally got me. Most likely the drawing room, of course, being the bar that I go to every Sunday to go do karaoke. There was a bachelorette party, so I'm gonna blame the bachelorette party on that. So
listen, from my experience,
so
working...
women, it's you that it's because of you that I have the novel coronavirus.
From my experience working
are
at
the
a pizza
problem.
shop at like 3 a.m., the bachelorette parties usually are some of the worst people alive.
That's true.
Yeah. But yeah, I woke up Wednesday morning feeling
Bachelorette parties are domestic terrorism. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, this is true.
But yeah, Wednesday woke up feeling awful. Went to go get a test. Found it the next morning positive for COVID, and it's like I knew already, but it's like wow, it's just one of those images that you're just like I didn't think I would ever see this. Like I didn't think I'd ever see like a thing on my iPhone telling me, hey, you've got COVID.
Yeah.
But it's happened. I'm about day 5. Yeah, day 5 into my quarantine. Thankfully, feeling better than I did on Wednesday. Like, obviously good enough to pod, but if I sound completely delirious at any points of this podcast, it is because again I have the novel coronavirus. So you cannot blame me for anything that I say on this podcast. You cannot blame me for.
As Matty and I talked about when Matty got COVID, when we did our album of the year podcast for Indie Heads, we did 2 episodes, one for our 5 to 6 and 10 to 6 and one for 5 to 1. We recorded those back to back. So it was like 4 hours of podcasting. I started feeling the symptoms of COVID like half an hour before podcasting. And by the time I had finished the like 5-hour marathon of podcasting, like I was exhausted, like my brain was fog, all of that. And when I later listened to the podcast, it was like if I recorded a podcast blackout drunk, and like I had to go back and be like, interesting point, me. I really like what you said about that album that I like a lot. Like it was really the fact that I made it all the way to the end and kept talking is just proof that I will never shut the fuck up in the spite of any obstacle. But yeah,
back to CeeLo
Green. Oh,
this song, I have to get the award right away. Congratulations, CeeLo Green, and your song "Fuck You," as it is the most Obama-ass song of the entire week.
Oh man,
right off the gate, off the jump. This is such an Obama-ass song. Could not have come out at any other time besides the first term of President Barack Obama.
It's funny. You guys are all very down on this. I guess it's just because I haven't heard this song in that long. I couldn't help but feel a little pang of the I would say inarguable like finger snapping, toe tapping delight of like hearing this verse. It's also like at the time it was played absolutely into the ground. It's kind of a bizarre inverse of the Pharrell "Happy" song. In terms of its like oversaturation and like having almost sonically the same tone, but lyrically opposite content. So I don't know. I enjoyed my re-listen to it today.
I like it more than Matty and Rose, to be clear. I think it is.
Seriously, I didn't want to hate this song. Like I love this song back in the day, but like coming back to it, just like it's a fucking time prison for me. It's
what
like,
I'll say about the song is that the thing you absolutely do have to hand it to him for. Before we get into why like CeeLo Green's a bad person and the gold statue outfit and all that and all that stuff, you absolutely do have to hand it to, like, it's one of those ideas that when someone comes up to it, you're just like, there's no way that someone didn't already do a song where the whole chorus is him telling someone fuck you. Like, how was he the first person to arrive at this conclusion? And there's something, but then the flip side of that coin is that you can tell that this is a classic case of came up with the name and the hook of the song before you came up with the rest of the song, and you reverse engineered all the other elements to so like he had the gem of an idea of, I'm gonna do a classic 60s soul pop song and it's going to be about fuck you and that's going to be great. And then he's like, all right, what are the verses? He's an Xbox, I'm more Atari, but the way you play your game ain't fair. Like he's really grasping at straws.
the fact that he's like I think the reverse engineering thing is right on, because he's clearly grasping for a reason that it would be unfair to leave him as opposed to a legitimate reason. He's like, what if it's because I'm poor?
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure there's nowhere else in his like Sonic history that he's like, I'm CeeLo, I have no money, I drive a busted car. Like he's like, oh, of course this has to be a reason that everyone's going to feel bad for me for someone leaving me, is because I'm a broke bitch.
I feel like it's also
Exactly.
very important to mention that the song had like 4 versions released within 3 months. There was a "fuck you," "f you," "forget you," and "thank you."
Oh, I forgot about thank you.
Thank you.
That's
Was that a Thanksgiving thing?
No, the one Gavin keeps posting is the CeeLo Green "Thank You Firefighter" remix. I don't
Oh my
know.
god.
Oh no.
If
I
Gavin
don't
was
know
on
what that
you're
is, and I
forgetting
don't
a-
want to look at
If
it.
Gavin was on this episode, he would be making us watch all sorts of videos like that. And in fact, on one episode that he wasn't on, he tricked us into watching a video by sending us a video that said "baby does backflip," and we like watched it on air, and the baby.
The baby didn't even do a backflip. I was
He
so
didn't do a backflip.
I like the idea of CeeLo getting in on the thank you first responders train just a decade too late. He's still squeezing some juice out of that sympathy.
Exactly, but also like the idea that "fuck you," like you're saying, is supposed to be like the anti-happy, but then just over the course of having to censor it 4 different times, it just became happy. Like
Yeah,
eventually,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's basically like, just let me get rid of all the "screw you" part of the song and just let it be, like, because he's like getting so much money from commercials. He's like, fine, I'm gonna keep making friendlier versions of it until I've run out of money to make on this song.
I feel like Matty has his hand on a gun right now with the way he's like got his mouse hovering over this like YouTube.
Yes,
Link, I'm scared.
I pulled this up and I saw Chris's face just grimace completely.
I mean, I assume
so-
that maybe this came from. Well, I'll let you intro and then I'll
Yeah. So an important facet of the Obama ass song is that it also can serve as the most Glee ass song of the week too. And of course, this is 2010. This is Glee's peak, and one of the biggest moments of Glee, at least one of the biggest songs. I think what probably took "Fuck You" over the edge to be a big pop song was it getting done on Glee by Goop founder Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh my god.
Shout out to all my Glee kids.
What are you doing? Sure got us a substitute, so I'm buttering the floor. But sectionals is like 2
Can we at
weeks
least
from
skip
now.
through some
Get
of
to get to it.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the song.
Traumatizing for me as a
It's because I
gay person.
were about traumatic fleeting time.
That
Took up some
Gwyneth
medical grade
hairstyle.
marijuana.
Oh my
Wow.
god.
That's Goop.
Please.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, here we go.
CeeLo, because you're like 40.
Top 40 sweet cheeks.
Hit it!
Oh my god.
Oh, woof. Oh my god. This is making my COVID worse.
This
It's
is
my
making
fault.
me want to get COVID. I feel like that might be a preferable experience.
Like, this song is already like plenty gentrified as it is. How do you gentrify something that's already very gentrified?
Yeah, like
This song.
when you were reading the Pitchfork thing, like, I was shocked at the way he was talking about like the instrumental and the music behind this, because I think at the time there was such a market for people just being like, remember soul music? Do you remember that thing that existed? What if, like, this is years before we get to Silk Sonic, and Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars are making Target like 70s soul music, but like right at this period of time, it was just like, whoa, this pop guy is making a song that sounds like it's doo-woppy. Like, this is changing the world. But it's like, when you revisit back to it, it sounds like the instrumental sounds dated as hell. Like, it does not sound
Yeah.
compelling.
Yeah.
And these guys are
I feel like
smocking out the
anytime we read, sorry, just anytime we read like half the time we read like a really cringe like review, the byline is almost always going to be Ryan Dumb. It's
Yeah.
almost always going
This
to be Ryan
man,
Dumb.
this man is a terrorist.
Truly.
About that Glee thing, I don't know if you've been revisiting Glee for all the songs of this series, but I don't know if you guys saw like the other day that person had a thread that was like the most
Oh my God.
abominable Glee songs from it.
yes.
That's what made me grimace so much, because I was going through like some of the worst Glee performances, and it's just one of those things where you see some of the stuff that was committed to network television just a decade ago, and it just makes you be like, how did how did we live like this in
Yeah, no.
the so recent past? Why was this allowed to happen? Who were these people that made such atrocities?
Ryan Murphy.
Exactly.
Murphy.
Ryan Murphy shows now feel like a different planet. Every Ryan Murphy show feels like it exists on a different planet. But like when you also roll back the cultural time to Glee era Ryan Murphy, it is really staggering stuff. It's compelling in a way that like you can't deny. It's just like it's like a car crash you can't look away from. But it is it is interesting. I really do feel like Glee does, in some ways, form some of the component parts of Matty's favorite show, Riverdale. That's going off the air, like the same kind of madness.
So
you know what I mean, Matty? Like it's the same kind of delirious madness.
Yeah, like Riverdale, it's definitely like Glee. Glee at its best was just like car crash TV. It's just like let's just take the most ridiculous plot points, but Glee at the end of the day still had to like keep itself somewhat grounded to reality.
Yes.
Riverdale has its feet have left that at this point. Like it is not. It needs like at the first season, like okay, let's tether it to some kind of reality. After like season 2 or 3, it's like we don't need to do that. Like hey, there's multiverses. There's Archie saying, bro, I know everything. I know all the secrets of this universe. Like Riverdale is an incredible television show that, again, if you watch it week to week, you are a fucking idiot and a psycho. I could never watch, like the whole joy of Riverdale is just being able to binge through it all and be like, wait a second, was that this season? Was that last season? Has this happened yet? It's just Riverdale's incredible.
Feels like a mirage.
From everything I've heard of Riverdale, it seems like I've never watched a second of it, but it seems like it's ending after its 6th season now. It seems like I could turn on an
7th season.
I could turn on an episode of it at this point, and they'd be like shooting Kamehameha beams out of their hands at each other, and I'd be like, "Yeah, this."
Here's the thing: you
kid
kid about that.
What I know about the show.
You kid about that, but a recent plot development. I've only watched the first part of the most recent season that's airing right now, where like I guess Betty and Archie develop superpowers randomly. It's like sure, okay,
Yeah,
why not? Riverdale is an incredible television show. Glee doesn't have shit on it. When Glee was bad. Like
yeah, that's true.
I was only actively watching Glee during like the
was Glee ever
second and
good?
third. Not really.
Yeah, exactly.
I was only watching Glee because I had a crush on a girl who watched Glee. So you know, middle school was a different time in my life. But yeah, fuck you is it's very much it is a perfect time capsule of like a very specific kind of guy in 2010 and like take a shot, by the way, everybody. Get those shot glasses ready.
God.
Todd in the Shadows did put this he did put fuck you as like his favorite pop song of 2010, either 2010 or 2011. And of course it's just like man, that choice is just aged like milk. Just talking about the song itself, it's aged like milk. But when you talk about CeeLo the guy, oh buddy, CeeLo the guy is a canceled guy at this point.
Deeply canceled.
Yeah.
Which you can censor this, Jackie, but if I remember correctly, he got canceled because he did say that, oh yeah, you can have sex with women while they're asleep. It's okay.
Yes, that is.
Oh God.
Yeah, he
bad.
Awful man. Did maybe the funniest thing anyone's ever done on a red carpet ever, which is we need to pull up the context. You research while I talk.
Yeah,
but like
again, just Google, if you're listening, just Google gold CeeLo green, and you're just gonna laugh your fucking ass off.
It was the Grammys, of course.
It has such evil energy.
Oh wow.
At the Grammys, CeeLo Green showed up in a gold like floor length kimono that is shiny and reflective, and he's wearing a gold mask on it that makes him look like he's someone that the Power Rangers would have to go talk to, you know? Like
that's a good pull. Yeah, that's exactly.
And so basically, CeeLo Green shows up to the Grammys. No one knows why he did it. I guess if it was the Oscars, maybe it would make a little more sense. Like he's the Oscar, I guess. But it just seemed like a man that was already like fully losing his mind, and I never stopped thinking about it a day in my life.
He did it twice.
He did it twice.
He did it twice.
I guess he it just seems like from everything I know about him that post Gnarls Barkley, like he has this one hit song, and like is all of a sudden existing on just the fumes of his own like persona and fame, and just leaves planet Earth like immediately, is the vibe I kind of get. Because
see, I don't like this. Like every image is just his worst energy.
This is a frightening image that shows up.
He did the like red carpet slow mo. That's terrifying.
Go find the gifs. Go search gold CeeLo green
search the
gifs.
See, for me personally, I just love when I feel like there's like one person per Grammys who forgets it isn't the VMAs and is like, I'm doing like a wacky MTV thing. It's like, no, this is music's biggest
it's like
night.
It's
fucked up.
It's more like I'm doing like high of. I guess CeeLo was like
art.
The wave we're getting on this year is that we're all wearing gold masks and we're gonna look like we're all showing up to an Eyes Wide Shut party, and it's gonna be fun.
Our guy of episode 1, I'm doing me.
Yes, exactly. CeeLo was doing him in 2010.
I mean,
oh boy.
Just thinking about the song a little bit more, it is. I do think that it's a pretty undeniable like power move to get like a Billboard smash hit song that has an expletive in the name. But then it's always so funny to watch like cultural censorship fold in on itself when a song with an expletive in its name gets so big, and then you have to pretend that that's not the name of the song.
Yes.
For like months at a time. And then you have like, of course, the FU version. Like I was listening to like the expletive deleted version or the censored one. And it's just like, what are we even doing here? Why would you put out this? Why would you listen to this song if it doesn't have the word that makes the song fun in it? And yet still became a huge hit.
Like,
okay, I have to turn off the tab.
Exactly.
I have to get off the gold CeeLo green tab. It's just,
without going on this tangent fully, but the song on the Kendrick Lamar album, that's the Kim Eminem style back and forth argument. The censored version of that song, where all of the swear words are just bleeped out of it because there's no way to replace the words, so they just like mute half of the words of the song. It's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Like the back and forth,
it's so good.
Censored arguing is hilarious. But let's move on to our next song on the list. What's song number 2, Rose?
Deerhunter's Helicopter. Some words from Larry Fitzmaurice. The black and white video for Deerhunter's Helicopter from the band's forthcoming full-length Halcyon Digest features frontman Bradford Cox mouthing the song's lyrics directly into the camera as obscured, static-coded footage is layered on top of his face. It's not the most creative idea for a video, but the visual juxtaposition of the straightforward and vague fits the band's constantly evolving aesthetic very well. Shimmering pop melodies couched in plenty of head-swimming atmospherics and noise. Helicopter is the latest realization of that aesthetic with a slow, dreamy structure far removed from the stuck-on-the-dial pop swagger of Halcyon Digest's first single, Revival.
Deerhunter. This is so in 2010 I am in a sophomore in college, and I thought that this was like I was so Pitchfork pilled at this point that I was listening to this music and being like, you know, the Jay-Z like gif where I think maybe he's at like which concert is he at? Is like Grizzly Bear or something?
You're thinking of when he's in the studio and someone is playing him an instrumental and he's bobbing it, and he's bobbing his head like maybe.
Wait, I think I know what Molly. Hang on.
He's trying to like get into it.
Yes, exactly.
That's how I feel about all of this
there are
music.
Like 3 different Jay-Z gifs like this. That's the thing, is that Jay-Z is famous for not being able to like comport his face in a way that doesn't reveal. Yes, exactly. This is, all of these are accurate. Yes.
This was me listening to shit like Deerhunter and being like, yes, indie rock. There's got to be something here that I like because they're telling me that it's good. That was it for me for Deerhunter.
What I was gonna say when listening to this is like, ooh, brr. Did somebody open the window? Because I'm feeling a chill wave.
It's a very chill wave. I'm ready for chill wave to come back. Honestly, I'm ready for it to make another cycle around. Like again, we talked about Witch House last week making a comeback.
Oh my god, my favorite.
I was never like Molly. I could never get fully into this end of indie rock, but now listening to these songs and just like the lush production and just like simple, easy vibes, I'm like, ooh, I'm feeling nostalgia for this. I wish songs sounded like this again.
Yeah.
See,
I mean,
the thing you should notice is this song was produced by Ben Allen, producer of two very important things: Merriweather Post Pavilion and Asher Roth's "I Love College."
I always forget about
That's
that.
the stuff.
He was running the tables around this time.
He's a rocker running in rap circles.
Oh, God.
Jesus Christ. This song is very, very good. It was so good, in fact, I was like, damn, like, did I like, even though like I didn't get a Deerhunter until it was 2015 when their album cycle was like rolling up. And I was like, okay, Deerhunter, there's a big band, gotta get into them. Went back back catalog, and I was just like, I don't get this. Like, what is not clicking here? And this song was so good. Helicopter is such a good song that I was like, okay, maybe, it's been like 7 years since then. I should go back to this album, see how I enjoy it. No, album is fucking mid. Don't like it. This song is great. The rest of the album is just like washed past me, like, and that's how Deerhunter always has been for me. It's just like there's one or two songs that I really like per album, and then the rest just like wash over me, being like, okay, like I just don't get this. Like,
are y'all familiar with the Bradford Cox My Sharona
yes.
night?
Oh my god! Oh my god!
That is what I'm interested in.
Okay, I'm not sure if we'll ever get a chance to talk about this on the podcast ever. Like again,
Dude,
I assume there's gonna be more Deerhunter. Maybe more Deerhunter later on.
I don't think so, actually.
I think they have like 2 songs.
This is peak Deerhunter for sure.
This is peak Deerhunter for sure. So,
but
oh boy,
yeah, this is the second best song of the week, probably for me, behind the very obvious number 1 that we won't get to later.
This is probably my top 3.
I like the song a whole lot. I'm in a similar boat to Matty, which is that Deerhunter has been like a name bantied about like among people we talk to music about for a very long time, and I've always been just like oh, I missed that, but one of those bands are just like, maybe I needed to be there. It's never going to be like for me, which was with me about Pavement until like 6 months ago, and now I'm going to see Pavement tomorrow night. So things can change.
Nice.
Things can change on this front. Thank you. I'm very excited. It's at the Fonda, so it's like the smallest show they're playing in LA.
Is it a crisis or is it a boring change?
It's fuck. You got me there. It's Mr. Stephen Malcolmus is living rent free in my head lately, along with Ethel Cain. But anyways, this song, this song is good, but I also totally like. I'm in the exact same way where I have a lot of nostalgia for this period because I did love a lot of shit like this, even though I wasn't into Deerhunter specifically. But also, Matty is right that like every time I've tried to get into this whole album, there's just not quite enough there to grab me, and it seems to me like, from all the people I know in my life that are like people who still listen to Deerhunter and still talk about, those Deerhunter records are really great. Like those people are all really zeroed in on Bradford Cox and like are really into his songwriting and his whole thing and his vibe, like all of that. If you're really tapped into that and you also like the pretty guitars, I can understand how Deerhunter can be like a really important band. And I'm totally the kind of person that loves to say like, that really pretty, just kind of mellow thing, actually there's real meaning behind it or whatever. Like I do love to do that, but I think with this song, I'm just kind of like, it's really, really good. But the rest of the album, it's like nothing that blows my mind. Although it does really feel like 2010, like this is setting a template for a lot of stuff that comes after it. Like this is really laying the groundwork for so much of the sound of what indie rock's going to sound like for the rest of the decade. I mean, like Mac DeMarco has not popped up on this series yet, but just that in general kind of
he's about to. Coming up soon.
We're fully reclined in our seats, indie rock. Like we've got a beverage in our hand, and we're like just kind of like mellowing out.
I have such powerful sense memories of listening to exactly this kind of music on like a hot summer day on the Williamsburg waterfront at some like free concert in like 2010.
You hipster piece of shit.
I mean, this was the tone of my first few years in New York, and I'm pretty sure I saw like the next band. I might have been like walking to a show from like hearing this play on the Williamsburg waterfront to see the next band at like Glasslands, like drinking PBR tall boys and stuff. On like
you were living the Brooklyn
day
experience.
June. Yeah, absolutely. It's just like warm summer evening indie rock from the time, like taking a warm bath with a joint.
Yes, exactly. I mean, and that is warm bath with a joint music represents like maybe a 60% pie chart of like the music I listen to like now and in college, as we'll get to with like Flying Lotus later. But like, I really do like this song, but still have not yet to get like fully Deerhunter obsessed. I'll probably give House on Digest another spin this week, but besides
it's got some good ones on there. I think it's got some real good
ones. Everyone who loves them, I've never heard a conversation about what's your favorite Deerhunter album. Everyone's like, it's that one. There's the one. I mean, the one in 2008 also has a lot of love behind, and people stick us. I've heard people say that the 2019 album is good, but
that 2019 they like my enjoyment for Deerhunter records is like a downward scaled graph. It just gets. Ugh.
I think Jero really likes the 2019 album, is what I want to say, but Jero also is violently Deerhunter pilled.
I will say that the best thing Deerhunter related from 2019 is, of course, Moses' score for Chapo Trap House or Good Vibes at the Iowa State Fair.
Facts. But I want to rewind it back to a thing that Molly mentioned earlier that I think is one of the greatest news stories to ever come out in Pitchfork, or really just in general. So
I can read this for you if you want.
I'll read it.
Okay.
The headline is: Watch, Bradford Cox shocks audience in Minneapolis, covers My Sharona for an hour. And then the other little byline: Wear ski mask. Wear ski mask, tells audience to remove clothes and pick up chairs, dedicate show to the death of folk and the birth of punk. So Deerhunter, an Atlas-style mastermind, Bradford Cox, has never been one to restrain his feelings. I need punk rock, he told Pitchfork last year. I am not an indie rock musician. I don't even know what the fuck that means. That attitude was on full display Friday night during an Atlas sound show at the Cedar Cultural Center in Minneapolis. In a report for City Pages, writer Sally Hedberg noted that things felt a little awkward from the beginning when Cox took the stage with his face concealed by a menacing black ski mask. After performing selections from 2011's Parallax and a cover of Beat Happening's Youth, Cox then apparently went totally and blissfully insane while heeding an audience member's request for the next 1979 power pop single, My Sharona. He presented a cryptic and noisy rendition that, according to Minnesota Daily, lasted for a full hour. I am a performance artist, Cox said. I must play what you want to hear. City Pages continues saying it morphed into something bizarre, noting that he was joined by the night's openers, Frankie Boyles and Carnivores, for an unending cover that rivaled the length of a Fish concert. He ordered the man who asked for the song to take the stage and strip down to his underwear and repeatedly stated, "This is what happens when you make requests."
God.
What a guy.
Get what you asked for.
See, I as much as I was just saying nice things about this band, I'm glad we moved past this page of like indie rock guys and we moved into the era of Alex G sincerely covering Life is a Highway by Rascal Flatts. Like that's the version of this that I like a lot better.
We have both. We should have both.
I do like the antics, and I do appreciate that that's probably like that's what's influencing the Pitchfork like consensus around them, is that they all probably saw this band live and are like, this guy's really cool and interesting in punk rock, even though they have this kind of this sound
gentle,
yes, exactly.
Tags: Atlas Sound, Bradford Cox, WTF.
You get to use the word juxtaposition.
This just sounds like a little bluegrassy, folksy version of My Sharona. I'm trying to figure out if there's a clip where they're just holding up the chairs, because there is a clip where they are just like.
Just pause right
here we go. Everyone has their chairs up in the air. It's like an ECW show in 1996.
Oh my god.
Oh boy.
I love when the video pans over and you see that there's a guy playing theremin.
Look, folks, we need to go back. We need to go back.
Chill wave.
Oh, Rose, what was our next song?
First of you will see many appearances.
Oh my god.
Ready for the World by How to Dress Well. Just
I was just looking this up, and I did to find if I recalled this correctly. And yes, I did in fact see How to Dress Well, not knowing who they were, just wandering into the old Glasslands venue in Williamsburg in August of 2010, being like, that's a weird name for a band. And then I got in, and my wig got so chilled. Oh, I was feeling maximum chill.
Just this. Oh my god! The Ariel Pink and Salem name drops. That's
Yeah, what a time.
It's a buzz band Ouroboros.
Yeah, it's funny that that Chris was mentioning PBR Tallboys because I would say this song is probably one of the first appearances we have of the little subgenre known as PBR&B.
Literally a genre term so bad that the guy who invented it has like publicly gone on the record as like, this was not supposed to become a thing. This was like me saying this once in an article and you turned it into a genre, you idiots, which is like really presages what we're in now, which is that Spotify names a playlist something and that becomes the name of what the genre is. Like
Totally.
Like this whole like vibes oriented algorithm stuff. But like I'm not gonna talk too long about this because we'll get into it, and this guy keeps fucking coming up in Pitchfork. He is the we talked about Zola Jesus on episode 1 and how Zola Jesus wins the award for like person who is on Best New Tracks the most in the decade, despite being a pretty niche artist that I love, but like not everyone is. Like they kept pushing her up a hill for many years until Okovi finally hit, and then she like kind of crested to a bigger level. But like How to Dress Well is the dude equivalent of that, where Pitchfork kept fucking giving this guy Best New Track, Best New Music over and over and over again, like being like, this is gonna be the thing and it's gonna happen, and it never quite happened. He's a guy that has existed in the periphery of my music world only because I was very invested and obsessed with the Los Angeles label We Did It, which is Shlomo and RL Grime and like Deej and like all those like Los Angeles based. We'll get into more of this kind of stuff later with Flying Lotus, but like the kind of Los Angeles alternative electronic beat making kind of world, like chill wave adjacent, but more in the kind of like the other sort of space of this. And like How to Dress Well was someone that was like always doing features on Shlomo songs. He was like one of the kind of collaborating artists in that sort of We Did It universe, along with like Jock Green early on and like people like that. And so I've always had a soft spot for the guy. There's an album that he put out in like 2018, long after the hype had kind of died down, called The Anti-Room, which is a really, really cool album that he described as like a club album that never rises above a 3 out of 10 in intensity. Like it's just this like
Sounds good.
very, very like icy, space agey, like Volnicura for dudes from Williamsburg, basically is how I would describe it. It's a really good album, and he's made some good music. I will say that this song is not like the thing I would hold up as like, this is why, like this is such a, it feels like such a hazy sketch of an idea, and I think that's kind of the whole like mystique that people were immediately placing onto this guy, rather when really like when you listen to his other stuff, his vocals get a lot more commanding, even though he does like the fragile falsetto thing still. But on this first album, it does just kind of sound like a guy mumbling a little bit over some admittedly pretty cool production. Like the production is neat and spacey and atmospheric and casts a certain shadow, and there's like the really cool album art that's like it's like headlights of a car that are like pulling up on something. Like I really do like a lot of aspects of this, but it's not like special. It's not something I'm going back to like 10 years later like, oh my god, like what a revelation. Yeah.
How do you want to marry this guy, Jackie?
Hey, he is pretty hot and tall, I will say.
Yeah, this is a song that like
Tom
if
Krell,
I heard
DM
this
me.
song, if I heard the song in like if I heard the song in like 2013, I would be like so into it. But like now that it's like 9 years removed, it's like it doesn't hit the same. You know, it's like I've heard too many songs that sound like this or like kind of do what it's doing a lot better. Hell, even on this playlist, there are songs that are doing what this song does like way better.
So this is one of 2 songs I am calling the anonymous white boys of the week. They do not exist. They're just here to project vibes and tell you like, ooh, like that's the most you can hear of them. It's just like a little oohs and ahs, and that's all you get out of them.
Yes, it is very much giving me the experience of hearing some anonymous band from across the field at like 2 p.m. at a festival set while you're walking to something that you actually want to see.
Exactly. Like I'm just this episode is me strolling across the festival grounds trying to get Lil Wayne. I don't care about the rest of this.
Yeah. My first ever time going to Coachella, one of the very first bands I saw, the very first band I ever saw at my very first Coachella was The Neighborhood, and then very shortly after that, it was Youth Lagoon was one of the other ones I saw at a very early in the day set.
Oh, wow.
And those two are very much like pillars of that era. Like Youth Lagoon especially is an artist that's just like, what if my whole thing was reverb? What if that was just the entire concept that I'm going for? And I'm like, you know what? Thumbs up. I approve. I believe I took a nap during the Youth Lagoon set, and it was nice.
when I'm being a little stinker at a concert, one of the things I like to yell is more reverb, which is a habit that I picked up around this time.
Chris, you got to be careful doing that, or someone is going to try to pull you on stage and make you strip to your underwear and say, "This is what happens when you ask for more reverb."
I have a great story.
As long as they turn up the reverb. I'll do it.
You want Freebird? Is that what?
When I saw Slow Dive at FYF, between songs, someone yelled at Rachel, "More reverb," and she goes, "Is there ever enough?" Which was just like the perfect
Classy.
Slow Dive answer. It was exactly what I wanted out of my Slow Dive concert experience. But anyways, I don't have a whole lot to say else because, like, again, this guy's gonna come up like 7 more times. I can save all my other tangents I could bring up. Like, we'll move on. He will return.
Yeah. Well then, Rose, what's our next song then?
Oh boy.
Just say it. Just say it.
Right from the beginning, LA art punk duo No Age moved easily between structured songs and free-floating noiseescapes. All along, they've seemed like thoughtful guys with a good sense of craft who nonetheless know how to cut loose when it counts. This is their song, Fever Dreaming.
Oh boy. It's not the worst song this week. We'll get to it later on.
This is
the song with the most missed potential of the week by far.
This is the beginning of the GTA wave.
Yeah.
We're gonna have so many guys that sound exactly like this who got big spots on GTA 5 soundtrack and cashed in on that for like half a decade.
Yeah, this song, it just oh god. I mean, when I miss potential, it's just like literally just like 2 or 3 like different production choices. This could be a fucking ripper. Like,
this
you
could be
turn up
great.
those guitars, you turn up the distortion on the vocals a little bit. Like,
yeah,
I really like that
it's
noise
such a
though.
flat
That
mix.
noise, like that freaky little.
That noise is pretty good. They really lean into that noise.
There's like some kind of like weird electronic thing burbling in the background I'd like to hear more of. This does just sound like a kind of discount Japan droids.
Yeah,
exactly.
There are some songs of theirs I like. Like I really like the song "Teen Creeps" from Nouns, which I think is their biggest song. It's their only song with over 1 million plays. And their first album, Zach was talking to me about it the other day in the office, Weirdo Rippers, which the album artwork for Weirdo Rippers is the Smell, the venue in Los Angeles, like that.
Oh,
it's
sure,
that,
yeah.
It's that building, but they're you're exactly right that they're a cool band that is like. They have an interesting sound that every once in a while, when executed in the right way, you're like, oh wow, like this isn't how I would have thought to produce it, but you've got a really interesting take on it here. I like, and then half of the time, or more than half of the time, you listen to their songs and it's like you're shooting your own song in the foot with the like up your own ass way you're deciding to produce it. Like that's what I kind of think about with this song. It's like you could have just made this like simple and just kind of not overthought it, and it kind of feels like they overthought it.
Yeah, I just want to mention real quick, the front man's name is Dean Spunt.
Yeah, I was looking at it. I was just like, this dude's name's Spunt.
The motherfucker's name is Dean Spunk.
That's what I call Dean Blunt, is Dean Spunt when I'm trying to remember his name.
God damn it. Yeah, this is a weak ass song.
I also just like, now that we've gone through these, it gets me every single time how every Pitchfork review is always like, when man first banged 2 rocks together to produce the concept he would later identify as music, and then it's like ellipses on Yellow Ostrich's new album, blah blah, and then like it gets into whatever they're reading.
For 2010 era Pitchfork was like real deep in this particular.
This is I think like where the current like music writing. I think we're starting to move past this, where we're getting like a generation of new music writers that are tired of the kind of like basically turning PR language into criticism.
Yes, sure.
Like just adding a little bit, as someone who does PR for a living, like adding just a little bit more zest to like PR writing and turning it into like very detached, very serious, very like quote unquote objective. And like Miranda Reiner, who for Men the Scroll, wrote a really great article on her blog the other day about how like objectivity in music writing is stupid because it's all about like how the thing should make you feel. And so if you're standing there doing what Molly was talking about, where you're just like, well, I'm not feeling anything, but objectively, I kind of get what they're going for. It's like, that's not what the point of music is. And that's why music writing should be like more personal, more funny. Like it should be able to express the personality of the people writing it. But the problem is that Pitchfork writers expressed their personality in the early 2000s, and their personality was sometimes off-putting and misogynist.
And Matty, could you please pull up the MmmHmm show review? I feel like that's one of the greatest things ever.
While you're doing that, have Molly and I personally complained about music PR mental health language on this pod? I'm trying to remember if I'm repeating.
Please do.
Because through and
we have a bone to pick.
Through and introducing, we've reached a level where we start getting like PR pitches, and like God bless the PR people trying to sell these albums and whatever. But every single one of them is like starts with when anxiety was first added to the DSM, no one knew how long lasting the effects would be. On her new album, blank, 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 confronts the difficulties of anxiety and depression through, and it's like basically every PR releases 3 paragraphs about anxiety and depression, and you're left with it being like, what does this album sound like?
What does the music sound like?
What instrument do they play?
Is she
a DJ? Or is this a rock band?
No, exactly. You're right that like you really shouldn't be writing about that kind of stuff in your music writing unless you're going to get really, really deep into it. Like as I wrote like 5,000 words about the new Ethel Cain album. Like if you're going to talk about how this is dealing with like someone's psychology and their past and their trauma or whatever, like you've got to actually get into that instead of just saying this album confronts trauma. And it's like, well, that's fucking vague. Like what does, and really what it just means is it's basically like, it's what sort of, Larry, I think I've brought this up before on the podcast or elsewhere, and maybe we'll bring it up again, but Larry Fitzmaurice wrote a really great essay called Pop's New Emotionalism that is basically about like the way that pop music has become less about like, here is a song to make you feel a thing, and it's like, here is me communicating the story of me, the artist. Yes. And like there are all kinds of artists that do this in a compelling way, like Kanye West up until a point. Like all of Kanye West music is about Kanye West, and you have to be invested in Kanye West either positively or negatively to care about his music to some degree. And so like, but what it comes in an extension of that is it's just like, my new album is about being sad. So just because I've underwritten the fuck out of all of these songs, you can't say anything that's like too mean in the review about it. Cause hey, I'm sad. And like, I don't want to dismiss those people. Like some of those people are going through real shit, but like, I think we all like, there was a really, I think, clear critical response that formed for me and others over the course of 2021 specifically, which was when all the pop stars rolled out their pandemic albums, which is like, I'm going inside for a year and I'm going to come back and my songs are going to have soft acoustic guitar. And it's going to be intimate because, we were all alone. And so, and like, all of them, they're varying degrees of good. Like I actually love the Billie Eilish album, which manages to do that without like falling into the cliches. But you're right that it's like this annoying shit that it's just a real bummer the way that it's manifested. Like
it's time to bring back bullying.
There's a space.
We must bring back bullying.
There's also a space for some kind of like music review site or blog or collective or whatever. That's where all the reviews are like, this song is pretty good. The guitars are loud, maybe not loud enough. The vocals, they're crunchy, but catchy. Just like, this is what this song is.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, like it's either super flowery in a bad way or like,
It's a good contrast to the MmmHmm show review that I mentioned earlier. Let me just read the first paragraph to give you an idea. Ryan loves it, and he likes MMLP too, so he's all sunning me now with this. Well, Ethan, yes, perhaps I'd allow you to give the Marshall Mathers LP a 10.0. I mean, that particular record was perfect, but not this one. Yeah, well, you were busy talking about it in the motherfucking drive-in back then, so let me redeem your god-awful sight now. Jeez, unless he went back on his dumbass policy, there's a 9.1 up there, but I promise you, the MmmHmm show was really a 10. Know that. And there's like no periods or sentence enders there.
I'm imagining this guy having like the longest phone call fighting for every single word of this, being like, no, it has to be no capitalization. Like this is writer brain. This is like, writer brain taken to its logical conclusion. Like this is the end of it is insane. Yeah, the very end of this review is nuts.
Like he literally just starts pasting like text messages between like AOL messages between him and Ryan from Schreiber from Pitchfork.
Did he invent alt lit with this? This is
and then at the very end, his final conclusion is just MmmHmm is great.
I honestly more reviews like this, please.
I actually love this.
I love it.
There's a little review. There's a little review of a record called Psychopomp by Japanese Breakfast that you can read on the Indiehead subreddit.
This is essentially the good version of this, which is when Psychopomp came out, AJ and Jeremiah wrote a review that was not actually a review, but rather a transcription of a Skype chat message that they had from the hours of like 12 until like 3 at night, where they just go back that they go back and forth in all caps about the Japanese Breakfast album Psychopomp, and the first message starts with "So AJ ... And so we've been doing this domino meme for the podcast, where the first domino is "So AJ," and then the last one is Michelle Zahner wins a Grammy for Best New Artist or whatever. Like
nice.
He was on SNL last night.
We were really early on the Japanese Breakfast train as a podcast.
Yes. Yeah, which it's just been crazy to watch her rise, because like I'm watching SNL last night and be like, holy shit, Michelle, like that's Michelle, like what the fuck, like. I talk to her publicist like every day. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Eloy, my man.
Shouts out to Eloy. It's been crazy to watch her rise. It's just crazy that like, you know, they're finally we have an indie musician on SNL that has actually done an AMA on Indie Heads. Phoebe Bridgers, I'm calling you out. It's time to get on the subreddit. You've been ducking us for way too long. All right, come on the subreddit, you coward. All right. Do it.
God! Speaking of No Age again, we're losing the thread because No Age. There's not much to say.
No Age.
No Age. More like nothing to say.
They're a fucking shitty no wave GTA 5 Vinewood Radio soundtrack band.
GTA 5. That's the worst part. Is they're like not even just waves. They're just the guys that came before waves.
It's a bad song, because it is just like, hey, let's take this noise rock song and produce it in like the worst way possible, like fucking dog shit, terrible.
It's not bad. I just think it's missing the punch that it needs.
The music video is pretty cool, though. I will say.
I would be.
I like when they just completely died at the end.
I would be happy to hear that song play in the background at a dive bar while I'm not paying attention to it.
Yes, exactly. But like, loudly,
I
like you have to turn the volume up a couple of notches for it to be like.
Even then, I don't think it's gonna improve it, because I mean, I was playing Skate 2 while listening to that song today, and I was just like, this is like the most ideal circumstances to hear this song, and it's not even close to hitting. Like, you fail. Go back to the drawing board.
Calling out No Age, man.
Calling out No Age. All right, No Age
called out.
More like I don't know. I have COVID. I can't
go,
even think of anything.
No Age, more like no thanks. Put this song away.
This must be beefed with a band since that one band from week 1 that doesn't exist. Like I don't even remember the
Keep Away song.
Do you remember the name of that band?
I think so.
That is Keep Away. I guess they were called Keep Away. That was a band that like they don't even have a Spotify page. That's how MySpace era it was. But anyways, let's move on to our next song, because I'm gonna.
Just
All right. Okay.
Play the
our next one is by
Flying
Lotus. It's by Flying Lotus featuring Thundercat. But let's see what the
God, I guess I didn't realize that Thundercat has been around that long. This long.
Yeah, it's been around for a while. It's
his ascent has been one of the most interesting ones for like buzz acts in the 2010s because he's just like, oh yeah, he's just that guy that like hangs out with like Flying Lotus, and now it's like, oh, he's opening for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Red Hot Chili Peppers winning Grammys with Kendrick. Like, it's funny that like when Flylo and Kendrick, which we'll talk about much later in the series, when they like finally collab, it's crazy that Thundercat was the winner and all of that. Like,
it really is, but also I think Thundercat's style like what Thundercat brought to the equation made more sense for like where Kendrick wanted to go. Like Kendrick didn't want to make like chill wavy beat tape albums, which is where Flying Lotus is really at his best mode. I like this song a lot. My kind of fundamental take on it that I've sort of arrived at for this week is that it is not my favorite song this week. It is not even my favorite song from this album or like the one I would have chosen, but it might be like the most important song this week in terms of determining like where my tastes form in this period of time, because I was super, super into Flying Lotus from like the years 2010 to like 16 or whatever. Like Rose will get to late period Flying Lotus and make fun of me later, as she is wont to do, but Flying Lotus was like one of the most important artists for like me developing my taste, particularly as we were talking about We Did It. Like Shlomo's album Bad Vibes and Flying Lotus's Cosmogramma / Los Angeles, those first two are like so huge for me, like discovering like getting backward into J Dilla and Madlib after getting into that stuff, but like the kind of mix of that LA hip hop influence with like jazz and like chill wave and electronic, like all getting into this soup. And like Flying Lotus and Thundercat as a collaboration, like not this particular song, but as like the idea of these two guys working together is so huge for so much of what so many different genres of music are going to then sound like for the next 10 years. Like you think about all the people that just vaguely sound like they could be playing at Adult Swim Festival or like there are so many artists that are just kind of like Thundercat E or Flying Lotus E, and that would be a way that you describe things. And this is the first time they came together and were like, your bass playing makes total sense with my like psychedelic hip hop beats, and it's just a match made in heaven.
This is a point I wanted to get to. This Flying Lotus in the 2010s is like the precursor to Chill Beats to Study to Relax to. Like that is
yes, that's exactly what I thought.
That's totally
it. Except like listening to this, I'm like, oh, but this is like a real song made by people instead of like songs made by machines.
No, exactly.
And I kind of realized over listening to it this week, I don't really like this album that much. It's kind of just
disagree, but I will say that this is not one of my like favorite. This is not one of the ones like Zodiac shit would have been a better one as far as like really emblematic of the Flying Lotus sound. Like Zodiac shit sounds the most like the first album, or I probably would have picked Until the Quiet Comes, the Tom York song, because actually no, that's the next album. What's the Tom York collab on? And The World Laughs With You, which that's like one of my favorite songs ever. I love Tom York. I love Flying Lotus. Like anytime they work together, it's right up my alley. But
Pitchfork calls it a throbbing interstitial. How do you respond to that?
I think that I guess sure. But I really
one woman's throbbing interstitial is another woman's best new track. You know,
I really do think this album is, like you're saying, like it is vibes music, and what this deteriorates into in the next decade is like something much, much less satisfying to me. And now this is not like the kind of music I seek after for the like. But when I was getting really into, when I was still, my reference points were like pop music and some rock music and like some rap music, and I was just like, I've never heard textures like this. I've never heard like crazy like sounds. Like I was just really like losing my mind over some of the kind of simplest stuff that now when I go back, like some of that music, I'm just like, okay, you were flipping out because you just heard like a cool beat for the first time. But a lot of it like does really hold up because Flying Lotus does take a lot of attention to detail with these songs, and I do think he's working enough influence from like jazz and like these different interesting places that it doesn't just feel like you're saying like cool beats to lo-fi beats to chill and relax to. But then now he makes soundtracks for his Netflix anime show that just sound kind of like chill beats to study and relax
Well, he's
to,
got to
which
make
is
the show.
exactly like he's
I mean, but there's just also the problem of just like, you know, like he made an album that's just its own thing, and like I can't tell you a single thing off that. Like I promise I'm not making fun of you when
yes. Rose loves to do the bit where she pretends that Flamagra doesn't exist and has never come out.
He hasn't made an album since 2014. It's crazy.
It's
but
this is all a very articulate and well like put out description of Flying Lotus and their place in the culture in like the last decade of music history, because before this my main association with Flying Lotus is, oh, that's like weed music, right? That's
yes,
like
that's also what my relation, like this is me being exactly like I would have been like 14 to 19. So yes, you're right that almost every time I was high, this would be on in the car or whatever. Like this is very much that kind of music, but like it really does, like, so the things that it's pulling from were then immediately like a syllabus of stuff for me to be like, okay, I'm gonna get into this and I'm gonna get into this, and like this all comes out of a music night in Los Angeles called the Low End Theory, named after obviously the Tribe Called Quest album. That was like Daddy Kev and now canceled Gaslamp Killer and like all of these Stones Throw adjacent like beat scene people that eventually this night really got famous over time because Tom York played there 3 times in like the early 2010s and would always like, it would still be the $10 cover. Like when Tom York started showing up, like he was like, just like, yeah, I want to play because like you guys are all really cool. So whenever he was in Los Angeles, like, and if any of you know the famous Tom York Flying Lotus DJ set meme, which is like a GIF that's just like there's really one of the, you know those really long GIFs where there's like no data in it and it's just like text so that it can go on really long. It's like a back and forth GIF between Tom York and Flying Lotus from one of these parties where Flying Lotus is telling Tom, you have to stop the DJ set, and he's like, no, my DJ set. He's like, Tom, no, the party's over, everyone left, your DJ set has to end. He's like, but my DJ set, and that's me.
Yeah, no, that was also the place where they had the first Odd Future show, if I remember correctly.
It's the very first Odd Future show happened there. Flying Lotus revealed that he was Captain Murphy for the first time at the Low End Theory. Like this was, I didn't go, I'm not like pretending like, yes, I was at every single night of the Low End Theory and I was there for when this genre of music was born, but like it's the closest thing I have to that, where it was like, yeah, I went there in high school a couple of times and like it was a really like crucial part of like me feeling like there was a scene of music that was happening in my city that was like new and like something that was exciting and different. And so I do really like have a lot to credit for like this album and this song like being like my gateway to a lot of different types of music. But I also will agree, like this is not the best song of the week. It's just like a pretty good vibes machine. And you know what? I like Flying Lotus, I like Thundercat. Like it's a good, I still love, this is probably still my favorite. Los Angeles is like, I have more kind of nostalgia associated with that one, and this one is the one that either this or Until the Quiet Comes would be my favorite Flying Lotus album. Matty, you can talk now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was there. I was there.
At the Low End Theory party. I was
there. When Odd Future played their first show.
The Teeb set.
Yeah, Jack, you say you really love the album Los Angeles. Would you say you have LA brain?
I do have LA brain. That's exactly
of course Jack has LA brain. Like, come on, of course.
But no, just for the album, not the...
Oh yeah. Oh boy. Well, I don't have much to say. It's a fine song. Not much else to say.
How are we going to talk about this? How?
Yeah, our next song. I'll reveal what our next song is, Rose. Since you're having troubles.
I don't even know how to introduce this. Like this one.
So we talked about 2 Kanye West songs last week. We talked about Monster and Power. And to complete, well, here's the thing. He got like 4 or 5 best new tracks during this time, but I think we decided these are like the 3. Like we gotta talk about at least these 3. Of course, the final 3.
What are we gonna do? Not talk about Runaway, Monster, and Power?
Exactly. Exactly. So Kanye West, Runaway, featuring Pusha T, best new track, September 28th, 2010, by Tom Brian. I'm just gonna start playing the song. I'm just gonna start playing.
Literally, like I had to make the snippet twice the length of the others because I was just like I couldn't get everything that I wanted to. What the hell? This isn't the version I.
The fucking Rick James sample, the piano.
I mean,
My first thought about listening to this song all the way through for the first time in a while was like, damn, this song really has everything in it, and also like it's a real ass song. And then I was thinking like the one thing that this has that doesn't have that I've liked in songs that I wish it did is like a guitar solo, and then it gets to the like electro voice sample breakdown. I was like, oh wait, it does have a guitar solo in it.
Hey, see, I like all of the song, but I just think that bit goes on for too long. I'm just like
disagree. I wish it was longer.
After repeated listens, I'm just like, please, just get me out of here. Move on to the next song. Like I was just having my patience tested by this playlist because it's just like mostly just like head off vibes only music. I'm just like not in the space for that right now. It's just, this is when I listen to my voice from Athens, Georgia, not Deerhunter.
For at least the past year or so, I really kind of held my ground, being like, this song is way overrated. Like, it's just such from what we know about Kanye now, it just seems like such a dishonest song of like, okay, it's like trying to be this like performatively self-aware, being like, hey, I'm aware I'm a douchebag, I'm an asshole, all this stuff, and feeling some sense of remorse about this, but obviously in the past few years it's become clear he shows no remorse, or at least he's not showing any remorse for his very bad, awful actions in the past like 4 or 5 years. Really just the last like few months alone with the whole Pete Davidson, Kim Kardashian saga of like threatening Pete Davidson and all this shit. So, but at the end of the day, but sometimes you can't think about that. Your mind transports to back when you were 14 years old when you first heard this song, and you're like, damn, this song, this song, unfortunately, I was a fucking idiot for being like, oh, it's overrated. It still fucking hits. There's a lot of really good shit about this song. It's just one of those things. It's just like you just kind of have to take it like self-contained for the time. It's just like you cannot think about what happened to Kanye West after. You just have to think about like what was the present of Kanye West during the song and the before. You cannot think about the future.
The music
Otherwise,
video,
it's just gonna.
When all the
music video is so good.
in.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, iconic music video.
There's also the MTV performance, which is, I believe, when he premiered it, which is the version where I believe they have the ballet dancers too, but he's in the middle of a giant white circle and he's wearing the red suit, and he's just got the NPC. And whenever he does the song live, of course, he does the NPCs live, and he goes like way crazy with all the samples. The like, and you all look like beautiful stars tonight, and you just keep spamming them over and over. But it's like. That is my favorite. Like, I love when people spam samples like that. It is very satisfying to me, and I think that this song is great. There's just so much to chew on here. I mean, like I talked last week about the Pusha T story recording this song, about how Kanye made him redo it over and over and kept making him rewrite the verse, saying more douchebaggy. It needs to be more douchebaggy. But like this song does get to like this elemental, like it's so like I really do think that like I get exactly why you had that reaction to it over time, Matty, but like he taps so deeply into a certain like kind of guy. I mean, the start of the first verse, she find pictures in my email. I sent this bitch a picture of my dick. I don't know what it is with females, but I'm not too good at that shit. Like it's so
I cannot
empty
believe
brained. But like
in 2010, did you have to email dick pics like as an attachment?
Yes.
Like I'm like this seems like a slightly geriatric. Yeah,
Please,
like
please
it seems like a how do I open PDF kind of thing.
Subject. Here's
on
my
his
dick.
BlackBerry.
Subject, my dick.
we were talking earlier about like buying into the myth of Kanye West, and like to an extent I've never really fully cashed in, because I just felt like, you know, I came into his stuff like after, you know, the peak like hype making, like literally I just walked in on like Pablo era. I was just like, this is neat, but like the music's just not really hitting for me the same. And like I listen to the old stuff, I'm just like, this is great, but I don't get it, you know. And just this song increasingly, like as somebody who's never fully invested themselves in him in the same way as like some other folks, and especially with this album, just like I've never been like, oh yeah, this is perfect, but it's just
this album again, like for me, like this album
never fully did it.
It used to be my favorite. I've had a similar. I think it really you're all right about like you don't have to love Kanye to love his music. Like his music has just obvious appeal that transcends that, but also like you can't look at this album and canonize it the way that people would canonize Kanye albums like the way they did before, because like I think at the time it was just like, well, I love Kanye, he's my favorite musician, and this is the most Kanye album, therefore it is the best Kanye album.
I mean, you
Because
can make that claim about like 5 different records.
I would say it's the most in a very, like, this is the album I think about more than any other piece of music when I think about like maximalism early 2010s, which is like what we've kind of been wading through with these first couple playlists, where it's basically like we haven't turned over the page to the new decade yet. We're just doing what the last decade was, really loud and expensive and big. It's like Watch the Throne is kind of that, but like starting to work in like dubstep and some of the new stuff that's happening. But like, I think this is really what I think of when I think of just like
this was also
the end of this era of pop music. Like,
yeah, just also like in the Kanye arc, like as you track each album cycle, this was definitely the absolute peak of when it came out. Not just like Kanye fans being like, this is a great Kanye album, but people being like, this is one of the greatest achievements in music history.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
I mean, it got the 10.0. Like that's
it's the praise was inescapably effusive around the time, and I was not a big Kanye watcher, so I was like a little eye rolly at it. But yeah, just going back to like, this is a great song. Like if you heard it on the radio right now, you would be like, oh shit, turn it up, I haven't heard this one in a while, you know, which I feel like is a little outside of the constant Kanye churn of news where he's like kind of always with it, and it's kind of always, you know, if you're a casual listener, a little like eye rolly, like, oh, there's still more Kanye stuff coming out. But good song.
Yeah, it's not even just that there's more Kanye stuff coming out now. It was that every single Kanye song is him saying, look at me. And like every Kanye song is him saying, look at me. But like the look at me has become more and more text instead of subtext. And like there's not as much actual there. And I think the people that like, I'm not going to disparage. I know lots of people that are serious critics that like stick up for Donda a little bit, but like you just really have to be high on Kanye fumes to like talk yourself into that being you can say like there are a lot of stray good musical ideas throughout the 20 however many tracks there are on Donda, but like you cannot say that is like a good, well considered, well put together album. It just is a hard drive dump, and like that's what his albums slowly became over time.
I mean, it really got away from, you know, the production. He's just fully immersed himself in like, oh, well, if I just get a bunch of talented people together, surely a product will come together in the same way.
Every single Kanye album.
I mean, it doesn't have, you know, the interest of the cycle. Like you were talking earlier about quotes from, I want to read one from Justin Vernon. It was crazy hanging out with all those superstars. We would all eat breakfast together, and whenever we had free time, we would work on building a singing robot. The robot ended up being so good at singing that it sang the second half of Runaway, and then it killed itself moments after recording the track. We cheered for hours.
Is that from the click? Is that the clickhole oral history?
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted to try and see.
But no, like this is the real first time that like Kanye has always been a kind of like, ever since the first 2 albums, he starts bringing in all these people and being like executive producer. Like, I'm going to get all the most talented people and I'm going to get them to all do their best work on my album. And like, this is the peak of that, where he rents out like an entire mansion and studio in Hawaii, and he flies everyone out to Hawaii, and they play basketball at the YMCA in the morning, and then they go to the studio all day. And Kanye never sleeps in the house. He just sleeps on chairs and benches in the studio and just like works on this album, like, which is silly. Like, you're in Hawaii. Like, I don't get the point of like, let's go to the most beautiful place on earth and then be in a studio.
I assume
all
the
day.
Isolation, just I need to isolate from everybody. It's the isolation,
and it's the like, ooh, people don't know who's. But like everyone was like reporting on like Nicki Minaj is going to the island. Like everyone was like talking about like who was getting involved, and like that becomes the whole thing with Kanye albums in the decade, where like every single Kanye album for the next couple of years, like, the list of collaborators is more what I'm interested in than the person himself. And like, I remember for Life of Pablo, there was the piece of paper that was in the studio that like someone signed it was like a track list that someone signed. And then Kanye kept taking pictures where every person that was in the studio would sign the piece of paper. So eventually the piece of paper was like all of these like insanely famous people's names. And then there'd be like DJ Dodger Stadium. And I'm like, those guys are in the studio? Like, what the fuck? Like, I know those guys. Like all of this like
it's
crazy.
the Leo pointing.
Exactly. And like that was the same for Yeezus, which is like he assembles this dream team of Gesaffelstein and Weekend and Arca and not Weekend, Daft Punk and Arca and like all of these like he basically is like, I've listened to Death Grips. I'm going to assemble a team of crack musicians that are going to help me build. And like every single album, I'm just more interested in the team, the creative team of people that he's assembled than it is anything with him personally. And the rapping has gotten just worse and worse and worse.
Oh, it's gotten so bad.
Oh,
he
man.
keeps forgetting to make the songs good. Like that's
Exactly.
really that's what he just keeps, again, that's been like the big crutch of every Kanye album pretty much since like definitely post Pablo. Like Pablo is really like the fact that Pablo is the fact that I could say like, yeah, I guess Life Pablo is good, I guess. Like that's a miracle. Like that's
Listen,
fucking
we're
miracle.
gonna get a discussion on that in the future because
exactly.
we cannot
critics were really
we'll litigate that later.
Yes, insane there.
Yeah,
but this
Runaway, it's classic.
It is.
It's classic. What can you do?
I like it. I think it's good.
Yeah,
let's talk about another. Rose, is this your second anonymous ass white boy of the week?
Yeah, obviously. Like, I fucking hate this guy.
Yeah,
it's James Blake. Limit to Your Love. I hate this dude so much. I don't want to hear any more songs, but I know we have more songs from him coming up, and I hate him.
I, of course, completely disagree with Rose because, again, I think James Blake.
Listen, I know you two are freaks about James Blake, but you know what? L plus ratio plus he's British. Thank you. That's my argument.
You forget. Well, you should have added plus he's dating Jamil, which like that's the biggest sell of them all, probably.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's the biggest sell of them all.
If you listen to
there's nothing happening here.
If you listen to his newest album, you will unforget that he's dating Jamila Jamil because his albums have gotten like progressively cornier as their relationship has progressed.
Are they all like women are perfect and can do no wrong?
Yeah, it's the worst misogynistic trope to be like a musician starts dating person and then because of woman his music it gets bad, but like that's what happened. Like that's what's been happening. But
I mean, can you say it
at least for one album? I liked Assume Form enough. Like I thought Assume Form was pretty good, but the newest album sucks ass. But this album, James Blake. This is another guy that Rose. It's just one of those you had to be there things. Like we talked every week about how
you know what I would have been there and I would have hated it then.
You would have hated it then too. You need to understand, Rose. I'm literally going to sound like I'm saying the exact same thing about Tom Krell, but it's like he was tall. He could sing really good. He had heard electronic music.
Okay, I'll give him points. He's taller than me. Like that's rare, but
he's a tall boy.
He's an insanely tall boy.
Wait, how tall is he?
Like 6'6", I think.
6'5".
Okay.
He's Osama should have played hoops instead of trying to kill people because he's tall. He's tall as hell.
Let me see if I can find the picture of Slow Tie and JPEG Mafia with James Blake, just so you can just see how
for reference. Isn't JPEG Mafia short? JPEG Mafia's got short.
Mafia's pretty short, but
he's got short guy energy.
Still, just to see how tall.
Oh yeah, he's a tall boy. But yeah, this is like one of those songs that I have just really lodged into my brain because not only did I love this song and love like early James Blake, but I also really, really love the Bad Bad Not Good cover of this song. We're really just getting into like when I was in when I was in high school and I like took a photography class and me and my friend would like hang out in this like darkroom film studio. I would play like Bad Bad Not Good and like Flying Lotus and like all of this kind of era of shit. Like this was very much the era that like I was obsessed with, and like the Bad Bad Not Good cover of Limit to Your Love is a great cover, but it's just like those chords are just really, really great and memorable. And like every single time I hear this song, it's just a really satisfying feeling of like, yes, like this chord progression is just hits exactly right. And I'm enough a sucker for James Blake's bullshit that I will like go along with the rest of it, regardless of my various feelings on like the future James Blake, like where he goes from here.
I was surprised by how much I enjoyed this song. I have no memory of it when it actually came out. I like the sub-bass warble thing, and I came out of it being like, did James Blake ever come close to doing a Bond theme? Because I feel like he could have pulled it off with a song like this.
He really, I mean, that's essentially what every James Blake feature is now. Like you're legally not allowed to put out a major label album if there's not one like 45-second interlude where James Blake sings pretty on it. But you're right that it is Bond is exactly the kind of theme where it's like very tony, but also very like kind of emotional,
dark,
and like
romantic, could be sparse, could be like very melodramatic, you know. I'm always thinking about who should do a Bond theme. You know who should do a Bond theme? The Weeknd.
Who? Oh,
it's gotta be coming. It's gotta be coming.
That's a good point. I can't. Wow. Yeah, that's
the next one. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the running.
Yeah, but yeah, James Blake not only had a certain grip on like straight women, but also a certain grip on music writers, because exactly what you're saying, like the Subway Warble, like he comes from a club, like a IDM club music background. Like his very first releases are like on our R&S record label, which is a Belgian, I believe, techno label that's now canceled because their owner is like super racist and just like tripped all over his own feet throughout the whole BLM summer. So I unfortunately had to get rid of some R&S merch that I had. RIP. They've put out a lot of like genuinely important albums, but the guy that owns it sucks, so I don't like buying his merch anymore. But he's like, James Blake was like known as like this electronic guy. Like Larry Fitzmaurice reviewed this, and like he's very much in the kind of like music literate, like electronic music, like experimental guys, and is fusing like UK dubstep and some of these sounds, and then he's like, I also have this really pretty voice and I like playing the piano, and this song particularly is when the pieces click into place for him, and he's like, oh, I put these two things together, I use my knowledge of like kind of club music production and how to create like space and atmosphere, and then using elements of it that are so like, he, instead of using a whole dubstep beat, which seems like the kind of obvious choice that you would make, he's like, let me take one part of it and kind of disembody it from the rest and make it just like this texture that exists in the song, and it's pretty cool. I like it a lot. I like this song. I liked early James Blake. I think I like the next album a little more than Self-Titled, which is a weird.
That album had me in a chokehold.
Yeah,
I have to say,
Overgrown.
Yeah.
That one,
Great,
even though the RZA verse is every RZA verse in the 2010s
is fucking hilarious. What are you talking about?
It's
great.
Hilarious, but every RZA verse in the 2010s is just an interesting ride to go on. You know, like there's the Earl feature where he says, "I'll fuck the freckles off your face, bitch." Like,
yeah, I mean, RZA in the 2010s in general is an interesting prospect. Like, you have to consider everything that he's done. He made that beat for Guitar Center. Like.
Oh my god, Chris, you've seen the RZA Guitar Center beat, I'm sure, right?
Have I seen the RZA Guitar Center beat?
No. Have you heard it?
He did Pegs and Steels.
Oh my god. Okay, hang on. We're gonna derail this podcast briefly to show Chris the RZA Guitar Center beat video.
Is it as good as the Home Depot beat?
It's way better.
RZA Guitar Center. I'm just gonna say he was set up.
Alright, so what we're gonna do now is
this is like, it has ruined his critical reputation among young people because of this video.
You hear that? So that's the tempo, right? So now what I would do is come here, choose a sound. Boom, sound. Okay. So I'll take that sound.
So far, this beat.
Choose another sound.
This beat sounds exactly what being in a Guitar Center sounds like.
No, like. It's so funny.
Somebody doing Stairway over
It's so funny as someone who's messed around with samplers before. Like, everyone's first beat sounds exactly like this, which is why it's so disorienting to watch. Like, the guy who made all the Wu-Tang beats do this.
Track three is empty.
It's just so clear that they did this in one take, that they didn't let him do another take at it.
He's like, I have 5 minutes of my time.
The best part is, like, Guitar Center just took this down. Suddenly they just decided we don't want this.
Every sound that he adds gets funnier.
This is. I kind of don't believe he's ever used this machine before.
No, it says he brought his portable beat.
Normal like hi-hat from
like a modern sound.
The church bells really do it for me.
I'll just probably roll on it.
This is angular, avant-garde, and surprising.
This is the new 106 Point Never single. Oh,
Get the Jay-Z nodding gif over this.
My favorite comment on this video is someone saying like, all right, let me put a normal hi-hat sound, and it says, as the sound of Mr. Krabs running.
Oh, fuck.
Anyways.
This is the beat that plays in your head when you've gone 3 days without sleep.
Exactly.
Oh, this is pretty great. Thank you for introducing this to me.
Yeah, this is really good. Honestly, this makes me want to buy this machine, so job well done, Guitar Center.
Exactly.
It's a perfect video. It's a perfect video.
It's been taken down by Guitar Center's page, but someone luckily like saved it and re-uploaded
God
it.
bless.
And that's what James Blake sounds like to me.
Man, come on. I just want to say, like, the RZA Guitar Center video, that is to hip hop what the Wes Mud Nirvana cover is to butt rock.
That is exactly
these like
correct.
these like these almost lost relics that could have been lost to time, but they just hold such a special place in everybody's brains. It's like, no, you can't just take this down. Like, we're gonna fucking put this back up again. Like, this is never gonna leave the internet ever again. It will live on. But
anyways, that was a long tangent from RZA's feature on Overground, but
which we'll probably get to, because we'll be talking about, I think, Retrograde when we get to 2013.
Pretty sure, yeah.
Next season. But yeah, again, Woman to Your Love, fucking great song. Again, it is a song that highlights everything that I love about early James Blake, just like being able to exert this like icy, minimal style, but there's still a lot going on in the background. Obviously, these beautiful vocals, and it's a great Feist cover too. It's a cover on the boot. So, a very wonderful reinterpretation of the song, making it your own, but still, having those ties, where it's not like a completely new thing. But yeah. Next song, though, is
how many songs we got? 4 more?
We have
Okay,
4 more. This is 4 more. 4 more after this. This next song is the worst fucking song of the entire playlist. It is The Pains of Being Pure at Heart and Your Heartbreak.
I knew you'd hate this song.
Which, again, Again, Kip Berman is a nice guy. I worked with him last year. We did a radio campaign for his band, The Natural. Nice dude. This song is fucking ass. This is the only song that I skipped on this playlist. Like, I would hear this come on. I get like 40 seconds in, and I would just fucking skip it. Like, it was just like grating in my fucking ears. I hated this. Hated it. It is not. It like CeeLo Green just exudes so much like Obama ass energy. Like, you can't beat that. But like, if this is like a very close second of the Obama ass song of the week. Like,
I actually think personally, I think this is more like, I think the reason why you hate this song is that like this is what so much bad indie rock proceeded to sound like for the next 10 years is just people kind of doing this. And like, I think of all the bands this week, like we said this a little with Deerhunter, less so, but this is the You Had to Be There band of the week. Like,
this is like pure 2010 compacted into like,
it's not a bad song. I don't hate it personally, but it's just like the only way I could imagine yourself talking yourself into this is like an important band is just like the brainworms of a couple of people just sort of working themselves up into a tornado where there's like, you know what, this band has just enough that we can talk ourselves into this is going to be the next big thing. And then you just sort of get this like blip that happens where all like, to me, this is a band that I have known the name of for a long time, but I just sort of assumed they weren't a real band, and it was just a thing that cool people would say is like, yeah, I listened to The Pains of Being Pure at Heart. Like it's too cool of a band name for what they sound like, because they just sound like we're an indie rock band that makes some kind of pleasant indie pop tunes.
I listened to this song literally about less than 2 hours ago, and I already forget what it is. Can you play the sample, or did you already do it?
Oh, I haven't played the sample yet. Hang on.
This song is 2010 concentrate. You're just. It's just.
Oh yes. Okay. Yeah.
This is Target commercial.
It is car commercial indie rock, but with that Deerhunter sheen over it. It's like, what if the kind of uplifting, like anthemic, arcade fiery indie pop had like this sheen of kind of, ooh, we're cool and removed. And yeah, it definitely hasn't aged well.
you're still kind of powered off the fumes of the aughts indie rock revival,
Yes,
but
totally.
we haven't figured the future is struggling to be born out of this.
Exactly. All of the 2010 episodes have been like that, where it's just like the kind of death wails of the 2000s, and then like a couple of songs here and there where you're like, okay, here's where something new starts. Like Flying Lotus and Thundercat is an example of that, where like that's something taking off as opposed to something coming down. And most of these things are like, we'll get to an artist later that's like having his cultural a lot of these people are having their big cultural moments, like their big like commercial peaks, but they've kind of they're like past the kind of period where they were the really exciting new artists. Like I
can't listen to this song and Pains of Being Pure at Heart in general without thinking of this as like the band that invented BuzzFeed, because Peggy Wang, one of the band members, is still like an executive like content level person at BuzzFeed.
Yeah, she was like employee like
she was
right?
one of the first like editors that they hired, and so I can't separate the like BuzzFeedification of media from like this kind of like mediocre but cute band. Like it's all I just like see the like floods of
that
lists
makes sense
flash before my eyes. I'm like, oh yeah, this is it.
I think
this is like what you do before you start doing that thing.
I think that's just such a testament to like how naming a band can warp people's perception of it, because you think of this band and you think of just like super Brooklyn hipster, but like a different kind of like, not the kind of Brooklyn hipster that's like BuzzFeed Brooklyn hipster, but more like the kind of like, oh, I'm alternative and I've got this like really niche this really niche like taste in music, but like really they just picked a good name and then they wrote some pop songs. Like that's really what it is. And so people were able to talk themselves into there being more there than there was.
The hyper tight, clean production. Oh, it's not for me. Give me the no aid. Give me no
It's produced
age
by
Flood.
Flood, which I think is like the third or fourth connection to Jared that we've had this episode, where it's like, because Bradford.
Oh wow!
Because I briefly scrolled over it, but Bradford Cox played Jared Leto's partner in Dallas Buyers Club in the film.
I forgot about that.
Obviously, Kanye has been on a 30 Seconds to Mars song. He's friends with Jared, and then this Flood, of course, produced "This Is War," the 30 Seconds to Mars album that was supposed to be about their war with the record label, but really it was just about 3 question marks, I guess.
Yeah.
just 3 question marks. I don't know what it's about.
That guy being involved really does help nail down though how weirdly dated this feels, because it's like masquerading in a like I Live in Brooklyn like costume, but this is the guy that produced like U2's he engineered U2's Joshua Tree is how this guy came to prominence, Flood. So like that's what this is. It's like Heartland rock like stadium music, but you've just put on the costume of like someone wearing a tweed vest.
I mean, it was a band that was just sort of like, we're gonna call our shot and be like, okay, we're gonna be the next big indie rock band to like really break through. We're getting
and then that
Flood,
stopped happening.
All this money, and then like this band fucking petered out almost immediately after this album.
I mean,
like broke up in 2016. Yeah. Like
bringing a guy like Flood on to produce an album like this feels like like bringing like a howitzer to try to take down a wasp nest or something.
It's like overkill. Surely this will do something to the song, right?
It's absolutely overkill.
Yeah, exactly.
Bad song. Don't like it. Worst song of the week.
It's innocent. It's not evil.
It's evil to me, Rose. It's evil.
Matty, you worked at a college, not a college, but you worked at like an alt radio station in the 2010s. That's why it's evil to you.
Yeah, this definitely gives me like college radio PTSD. It's like I didn't get to have a cool college radio station that played like good music. Like no, I had to hear like mainstream alt, and occasionally something like vaguely indie rockish like this would break through, where it's like it's so close to something that I like, but it's just not good, and it just makes it all the more like. It just stings all that much more that like, oh man, like so close to getting what I want, but this is not it. It's not it. No,
you know what, let's move on to our... the next couple. I think here is where Rose was complaining a lot about this playlist. I like some of the songs, but now I think the playlist gets very fun. These last couple.
You play one more song and then we'll talk.
Oh come on!
All right.
I'm sorry. I tried.
I'm curious if Molly has any opinions about this song.
Yeah, our next song is Robyn's "Call Your Girlfriend." Is Robyn's "Call Your Girlfriend," which Molly, I'll let you have the floor on this one.
Yeah.
I mean, what is there to say? Robyn is the pop girl who broke out of the machine. I have nothing but respect for my president.
Yes.
Like she was in the mold of like she was on Jive fucking Records, and she pulled up because she's an independent-minded woman.
She was supposed to be like Dr. Luke's
This is
like
Body
big.
Talk, right?
This
What's
is
up?
Body Talk. Yep.
Yeah, Body Talk.
Body Talk is I saw her on this tour, and so I'm completely biased. I'm sorry. This is just like
Yes. No.
just
go
good
ahead.
Euro
Go
dance pop. It's so good.
This
I've
is
seen
this is
this
when
live,
Robyn
like,
does
3
ascend.
times now.
Like this is when Robyn goes from being like, oh, real heads know Robyn is like a great pop artist to like we talked about Dancing on My Own last week. This is their second single from this album, and I think Dancing on My Own is like the more I get why it's the more canonized song because it kind of has like a real social purpose to it. Like it just exists as a specific song for like a specific feeling that everyone can like relate to. Like, oh yeah, dance, like everyone loves to sing that song together. And like Call Your Girlfriend is kind of like the thinking woman's Robyn pick for like, actually, you know what? The real great single from that album is Call Your Girlfriend, which I love them both. I have more of like a history with Dancing on My Own, as I talked about last week. Like my very gay dance instructor played this song, and so like I just have a memory of hearing this song every day for warm up because it was like our warm up music and listening to it a million times, and like so I have emotional connections to that song that I don't have to Call Your Girlfriend. But like this song is great. I talked about Robyn last week. She's great. I don't have a lot else to say. Love Robyn. That's about it.
What I will say about both this song and Dancing on My Own is that if you give me a dance track with eighth note sequenced synth bass lines,
Yes,
that's you're starting at a 7, so everything else is just icing.
It's your song to fuck up at that point.
Basically.
Yeah, this is a good song. I don't like it as much as Dancing on Your Own or Dancing on My Own, but it's still pretty fucking good. Like this
It's
is
also
excellent.
it's a deeply psychotic theme when you think about it, of just advising your new boyfriend on how to break up.
Yeah,
with
that's
his
the I kept listening.
current
Wait, is this song what I think the song is about? Like, what the fuck? It's like only Robyn could make like a great pop song out of like such a bizarre premise.
Exactly.
It's different in Sweden.
You know, it's kind of got the crossover with Break Up With Your Girlfriend.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Is that this is the like more subtle version of Break Up With Your Girlfriend on Board. Like basically like she finds a way to say it where you're kind of like, wait, did you say that? Like as opposed to the other one, which is just kind of like we're hitting you over the head with what this song is. It's like a Steal Your Man song. But
just imagine your significant other calling you and being like, I've actually found somebody new. It is
insane.
So just wanted to let you know. I wish that won't happen to anyone ever, because that seems bad.
It's also funny, like her two big hits are the exact two opposite sides of the coin. Like in one song, she is the person dancing on her own, having her man stolen, and then the other song, it's like you need to call your girlfriend and tell her that you're broken up with her because you're dating me now. Like,
yeah,
I feel like that was probably intentional, but I do kind of like that. And of course, the one that's about being the sad, broken up with person is going to be the one that people are like more emotionally invested in.
Yeah.
But yeah, great song, Robyn rules. We'll talk about Robyn again with Honey, I think. Pretty sure.
Yeah, like,
way
and that's like
later.
at the way end of the series.
Yeah, I can't even think about 2018 yet.
I think it's 2019, isn't it?
2018 is Honey.
Oh.
2019 Pitchfork is when we saw Robyn, and that was wonderful.
Okay, yeah, that's why I was thinking 2019.
Yes.
Well then, since we're speaking about pop girls, let's continue this pop girl
now
summer.
on to one that I really do sincerely enjoy. Like with Robyn, I felt like I kind of had to, it was one of those you had to be there moments. And this, at least, I can like get it. I get it.
Hell yeah. Next song, of course, is Rihanna's "Only Girl in the World,"
which, excellent song.
Yeah. This is a incredible preview for an episode coming soon to the Indie Heads podcast, where I revisit all the songs I used to hear at middle school dances in like 2009.
Oh, wonderful.
And we left Rihanna off there because we wanted to talk about artists that like only existed in that space, but like Rihanna is so emblematic of this era of 2009, 2010 pop music that is like drawing on production stuff from like house music and like big kind of EDM stuff, and there's just, it's so brutally 2010s, but also Rihanna manages to transcend that even all these years later because she's Rihanna, and like scientists are still trying to figure out why anything she does is just the most compelling thing you've ever heard. Like
scientists are working around the clock
to figure out like why just like the way she says words is enough to make it be like, yeah, this song, if you removed her from the song and you just heard this instrumental, you'd be like, which LMFAO single is this that the vocals?
Yeah, it's like, it's such a nothing of a track
Exactly.
that like, it's amazing. The people who like work on the song, is this a Stargate song? Like the Norwegian
maybe,
like
yeah.
producers?
Yes, it is. It says somewhere here in the review, I believe.
It's Stargate.
I just think it's so crazy, like the people who do the like hook writing of just like, how did you get this melody out of this completely like regular style synth pop song?
Yeah,
it's so nuts.
It's crazy. This song rocks. I mean, we talked about it a little bit with Call Your Girlfriend about my own personal canon of songs that as a closeted trans woman, I just sort of heard and was like, interesting. Coming back, gonna circle back around to this in 10 years. But yeah, I really love this song. This song fucking rips. This era of Rihanna, we were talking with David in the Discord chat before, but both Loud and Rated R are like albums that like should age like milk based on like the period of pop music they existed in and a lot of the like trends of that era. But like both those all and the 2008 album, just like banger after banger, like Don't Stop the Music, Umbrella, like all Pond to Replay, Disturbia, banger after fucking banger. Like all of those songs like hold up just because of how really good those hooks are and how like charismatic Rihanna is, and that's basically it.
Again, my main input is good synth sounds.
Yes. I do like, I mean, I'll talk about this on
big,
the
like,
other episode. Yeah, exactly.
Breakdown yeah, it sounds good. And then there's like a little like thing that comes in like the second verse, also very good.
Oh yeah. So, yeah, only going with
shouts out to Rihanna. Happy for her and ASAP Rocky.
Oh yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah, a bouncing baby boy.
Good for them.
Molly, I was thinking about this yesterday as I was reading headlines. What is that phrase that you found about that was announcing a child's baby? Like, welcome's a boy child?
It was from like an aggregating website that clearly just like used synonyms for aggregated news stories and then used synonyms to create like a new story. It was when Julia Fox had her baby, and it was Julia Fox gave delivery to a child boy. Rihanna has gave delivery to a child boy.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our next song.
Yeah, our final song of the evening.
We got a lot. We're gonna.
Oh man,
a good way to close. We always try to end and start the episodes strong, and I really think this is what a way to go out. This was a song that before the place, like there are so many songs that Rose had not heard from these episodes that like we would all do these like, what, you haven't heard blah blah blah, like because Rose was not listening to new music in 2010, but. So this was one that I was nervous about. I was like, if Rose doesn't like 6 foot, 7 foot, I just
come on. Like,
I don't know.
Why would I not like this?
I don't know. There are songs that I've had that reaction to you so far. Like, how do you not like this? But I'm glad we're all on the same page. We're talking about 6 foot, 7 foot by Lil Wayne and Cory Gunz. This is one of the first. I mean, this was my first Lil Wayne song. You can play it and start getting into it. But 6 foot, 7 foot, like fucking rocks.
I love Dedication too. How could I not love this? I just love it when Wayne just goes into like pure nonsense mode. It's beautiful.
Exactly. He does not stop rapping for like 2.5 minutes. Like you keep thinking the Cory Gunz feature is gonna start, and he just keeps going. No. I need to keep going.
I'm going back in.
Exactly.
And it's making me laugh.
He's so funny on this song.
Watch out now! I'm going in.
An amazing sample on this. I love the banana boat sample.
Mm-hmm.
I looked that up earlier today. I didn't know what it was. For a long time, I thought it sounded like "fuck banana" was what I always thought it sounded like. I was like trying to figure out what that first word was, but the banana is very clear. This is just clearly like, this is just a Milli 2. That is what it is. It's Bangladesh is back on the production for this one. He's the one who did a Milli and like you're right that you should just do that again because Amelie is so good that, like, of course, I think Amelie is the better song in terms of like the Lil Wayne song you would most want to hear like come on at a party. But this song has a very special place in high school basketball layup line history. Like literally high school basketball games were never the same when this song was released. Like there's a before and after the release of 6 Foot, 7 Foot, and now it's just like you could go to a basketball game today and they're playing this song while they're warming up. Like this is just some of the most basketball ass rap music I've ever heard in my entire life. I don't know how to describe it other than that. Like it just, I feel like I should be like watching people warm up. I don't know.
Yeah, this song is
I mean
it's just so
the
good.
line "real G's move in silence like lasagna" is like send it up to the rafters. Like that's
I mean, like this song has like at least 20 just like one-liners or just like Hall of Famers. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to start Wheezy because the F is for finisher. Like two bitches at the same time, synchronized swimmers.
Oh yeah,
swimmers.
Black and white diamonds, fuck segregation.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, like just we could literally just like sit and read off those all day because it's just it's nothing but Hall of Famers.
I really like the part.
I'm out in my lima bean.
The Cory Gunz feature is hilarious.
Which we'll get to. I just want to read one more line. Had my heart broken by this woman named Tammy, but hoes can be hoes, so I couldn't blame Tammy. Like feminist king Lil Wayne. This is this is an incredible song. It is
so
Lil Wayne just. It's just Lil Wayne going the fuck off for like 2 or 3 minutes, no hook, just like bar after bar after bar, just like he's on fire, and then Cory Gunz has to come in. And Cory Gunz like coming in initially sounds like, oh shit, like he was just like pulled in by surprise, like Wayne, like he was just kind of just like waiting, like, all right, Wayne, you gonna wrap up your verse, man? Like, all right, I gotta punch in, dude. Like, and then Wayne's like, all right, I'm done, come on in. Like, oh fuck, he has to like.
Word to my mama, I'm out of my lima bean.
It does feel like he's running toward the microphone, like, oh shit, I've got to start.
Yeah, it takes him like 2 or 3 bars to like find his pocket within the beat,
which is exactly what, like, of course that's what it's going to be like if you're following Lil Wayne on this song, because you were sitting there in the booth listening to him go in and then come out of the booth and be like, wait, I got to keep going back in, and like I'm sure it was a lot of pressure for Cory Gunz, and you know what, he delivered with Word to my mama, I'm out of my lima bean. like that whole little part it's very
I flow like scuba.
He's very
bold
clearly
like Cuba.
Trying to do a Busta Rhymes thing is how I would describe it. Like he's trying to do dollar store Busta Rhymes, and he does a good enough job. Like it's of all the like kind of rap features that it's like this guy never became anything, but you know him because of that one song. Like he acquits himself pretty well.
It's tough because the Carter 3 was such a huge record for everyone, in specifically like my senior year of college, which is like a very specific time to have like a rap record like drilled into you, that I could only kind of ever approach the song as a bit of like the Carter 3 methadone. But
totally.
you know, it's still very good on its own.
I mean,
I was
like,
very happy to see it ending up this playlist.
Exactly. Yeah, like I never got like really deep into Lil Wayne until later in my life, because just as a factor of being younger, like even though I loved this song at the time, this was like I think the first Lil Wayne song I like knew and like downloaded on my iPod and all of that stuff. But like because we were introduced in this era, like the crucial bit of context for this song is that this is the same album that How to Love is on. Which How to Love by Lil Wayne. If you, like me, did not watch the show The Dropout, you need to do yourself a favor and go look up the clip of Amanda Seyfried. There's a clip from the show The Dropout where, as Elizabeth Holmes, Amanda Seyfried presses play on the song How to Love by Lil Wayne and then does a sexy dance into this other guy's office that is like the most awkward thing I have ever seen put to screen. It's like
off-putting.
It's like one of the most brilliant pieces of acting I've ever seen in my entire life. But like that's the era of Lil Wayne that we're arriving in, is simultaneously while he's like reaching his peak as a rapper, which you like see on the song of just like, I'm gonna just like go out of my mind, but he's also like, what if I made a Plain White T's song, you know, like what if I got out an acoustic guitar and asked the question how to love, you know? And like, so I never was like, oh, Lil Wayne's my favorite rapper, because I was introduced to him during the period of time in which his ideas start becoming less consistently good.
We're tiptoeing up to him playing the worst guitar solo of all time on Saturday Night Live. Which is something that I appreciate.
Or some basketball game or something like that.
I appreciate him taking a swing at least.
Yes, listen, he's gonna try his best. He's tried a lot of
the rock era of Lil Wayne, and like also the era where he's like, I'm really into skateboarding, and and like I appreciate that he is like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw myself headfirst into whatever the thing is that I'm into now. But like, yeah, there's a couple.
Look, Lil Wayne walked so that Machine Gun Kelly could run. All right.
Exactly.
That's a cool guitar though. Good taste in guitars.
I think Lil Wayne's rock record was better than Tickets to My Head Ass or whatever.
I like
Gun
it.
Kelly's song
was fine. It's an all right pop record.
There's some bangers on there.
I mean,
Again,
look how happy he is. Look how happy
he's so
he
happy.
is.
The Halsey song in that MGK record is fucking awesome. It's one of the best Halsey songs ever. And I, of course, I'm a big Halsey defender. I loved her last record that came out last year, the 9 Inch Nails produced one, which
so
I
good.
will stand by again. It was a top 5 record for me last year. Like,
did you see Halsey's being bedeviled by their record label to like make TikToks?
It's happening all over the place. Like, I honestly think at this, like, I'm so diseased by like marketing brain and the way that you have to think now, because there's all this like self-aware stuff that like so many people from Atlantic Records have been complaining about having to make TikToks, that I feel like it's a label note that's like, you should pretend to complain about making the TikToks so that people like,
yes,
but like that's how in our own fucking heads we have to be with people like Charlie XCX, who's constantly like, am I doing performance art ? It's like, not really, you're mostly just a good pop star. But like,
yeah,
everyone who's just kind of constantly doing the like, oh yeah, my label says I have to do that. But like, I also do feel like the labels are for sure pressuring these people, like, you make those fucking TikToks, like.
But yeah, no, all of the complaints are going viral, and then I'm sure they'll put out the songs that they're saying that they weren't allowed to put out or whatever, and then everyone will be happy.
Charlie's getting ready to dump the couple of B-sides from Crash, so she needs to.
And they're going to be better than the album, aren't they?
That album, I could totally imagine there being better B-sides, because that album is just a mess.
Yeah, that album is...
Look, 2010 was such a beautiful time where you could be Lil Wayne and abuse lean and pills and then make one of the greatest rap songs that you could ever play on a basketball court, you know? Like,
exactly.
I mean, that's the Wayne, that's peak Wayne right there. It's just going nonsense bars for like 4 straight minutes, and everyone's just like, yeah, you did it. You did it.
Here's another 2009, 2010 Lil Wayne artifact that I always come back to when I think about these era songs. Is anybody familiar with Wheezy Vlog?
Vaguely. I remember watching a little Wayne like documentary,
and on like early YouTube. Yes. And all the videos would be like him in a throne eating a steak shirtless, drinking purple drink, just mumbling like a continued monologue with like a woman in a bikini massaging him whose head was out of frame. And they'd be like 7 minutes long. They were great. I've never been able to find these recently, but this is like the content ecosystem
that that is the precursor to like a couple of years after Wheezy Vlogs. Vice would just hire someone to record that professionally.
Yeah,
what would start happening. Like the videos of like Gucci Mane where he's in the studio and he's making his Bart Simpson chain smoke a blunt. He holds the Bart Simpson chain and then he sings "Fly Away" by Lenny Kravitz. One of my favorite videos on the internet. Go watch it when you're done with this. But like that becomes a content industry, and that becomes like people realize like, oh, we should just get these funny charismatic rappers when they're really fucked up in the studio and just like bring in a Vice camera crew and like turn that into content. And then they tried to make a TV show where basically every show was like, what if we did blank but there were rappers there?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is like the start of that. You're right. Lil Wayne was very early on that sort of like wave of like, I'm gonna have my camcorder when we're hanging out. Like,
Also, I think this song in particular was also like his first like post jail song. Like he went to jail for a little bit,
Yes.
and then comes back with this, and it's just like, all right, like, oh, you thought I was gone? No, I'm back. Like, because again, he had obviously Carter 3 was a huge record. The follow ups were like kind of disappointing. Besides like mixtape, I think like No Ceilings was like the exception because like there's let's see who wrote this, Ryan Domble, the evil man Ryan Domble, although he's correct here, the cock rock downer Rebirth and the diluted I Am Not a Human Being had him discombobulated, unfocused, and losing a step. So this is just like something, all right, like both like hey haters, like you're fucking wrong about me, I'm back, but also the fact that like this album comes out and it's also just like a pretty like mixed record. It's like, oh yeah, this just does not live up to the Carter 3 in the slightest. But you know,
the Carter 4 is a real precursor for rap albums that come where it's like there's a good album in there somewhere, but we just dumped a bunch of other stuff on there too that you have to kind of wade your way through.
Lot longer than a feature film, you know, that's just how it goes.
Yeah, how long is the Carter 4? I'm curious.
I don't know. I just said that because Culture 2 was longer than most movies.
Carter 4 is only 1 hour long. 15 songs, 1 hour. That's not that bad.
Rose will never let anyone forget how long the Migos albums are, particularly Culture 2. Culture
3, I mean. Culture 3. Like, I think it's Culture. I can never remember.
I want to say
3 is the one that's like...
It's the one with the red cover.
2 is the longest one. 2 is the one that is an hour and 45 minutes of Migos.
Again,
oh my lord,
that's too much of any band.
We had a whole discussion about Migos the other day when they announced that they're breaking up and that the two members of Migos, I believe,
Unc and Neff.
Quavo and Takeoff, who are uncle and nephew, have started a group called Unc and Neff, which feels like LMFAO appropriation is what it feels like.
Wow.
Like they're just taking their whole swag, but I guess it's because like Offset has always been the kind of like odd man out. I mean, he's the one of them that's not related, but he's always been kind of the odd one out. But like we talked about Migos for a while when they broke up, and like Migos have a ton of like actually great songs, like really, really, really great memorable singles. The idea that anyone would have ever wanted to listen to 24 Migos songs in a row that goes on for like 2 hours is just like, it's mind numbing because they're kind of the same song. Like, is Emoji a Chain that different from Stir Fry? No one knows. No one remembers any of those songs.
I mean, the only album that even like approaches that like that, I'm like, yeah, I want to sit down and listen to this ever, is literally Songs in the Key of Life. Like, nobody is gonna do you have to pay me
exactly.
to get to listen to an album.
I have a little more like leniency for long albums, as I will soon discuss on merry-go-round-magazine.com, but like I do appreciate that, especially in the streaming era. Like, my ADHD I just got medicated for, but even still, like, finishing some of these albums is a fucking chore sometimes, instead of it being like, okay, here are all the songs that are good and you can play it through front to back. Like, no one cares about the album as a format anymore because it's just like literally Drake called his album a playlist, and that was the moment that died. But I do think that there is, I think there's a little bit of a kind of, there's been a reaction to it. Like, Earl dropped an album that was like 20 minutes long and it was amazing. Like, there's a lot of people that have leaned against that trend. But yes, this is the very beginning of like digital music era bloat, where just like, because you don't have to put it on a physical medium, you don't have to really care if all the songs are good. People can just hit the skip button on their iPod. Like, it's not a really big deal.
The only reason an album should have 24 tracks is if you are a hardcore punk band and the total running time is less than 30 minutes as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got a tape that's like less than 30 minutes and it's 100 songs.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. That's
bam. Well then, that I think that concludes our episode of Best New Pod, and we're finally out. Well, I guess before we do our cuts episodes and whatnot, we are, for the most part, we're pretty much out of 2010, as we're taking a little 1 week break. And after that, we'll be diving into 2011. But Chris and Molly, thank you so much for coming back on. Is there anything y'all want to plug before we go?
Do you want to do the plugs, or should I do the plugs?
Yeah, I can do the plugs. We have 2 podcasts actually. We have And Introducing, 2 pods, count them. And Introducing, podcast about words about music, where we talk about music writing. We've had some fun guests recently and some good stuff in the pipeline. We also, for the toxic literary bros that might be listening to this podcast, we have a podcast called Infinite Cast, where I am reading Infinite Jest to Chris on air, and then we talk about it. So if you've ever looked at that large brick and thought, I would like to read it, but I don't really feel like reading it with my eyes, that's a good podcast to listen to. Found wherever podcasts are found.
Yes, exactly.
Hell yeah. Always great to have you on. Like, automatic good episode of Chris and Molly are on.
Oh, well.
Aww.
Yeah, I thank you guys for giving me many like sense memories of being like a little drunk in Williamsburg, like the second year that I lived in New York, slamming beam creams at the levee and checking out some washed out, not the band, but similar washed out indie rock at Glasslands. A very fun time.
Yeah, Washed Out was a great moment where someone was just like, let's cut to the chase here. You want Washed Out. Here is Washed Out.
And I was like, you know what? Yes, I do.
Exactly.
Well then, hopefully you all enjoyed this episode. We will see you all in 2 weeks for as we begin our journey into 2011, which I think really for me is kind of, that's where my cognitive sense of like things that are going on, like that's where it really begins with Pitchfork.
Yeah,
like, I wasn't reading Pitchfork, but like the stuff they're talking about I was very aware of.
And I would argue the decade begins in earnest quite soon, because some of the songs we're talking about next week,
big ones,
or in 2 weeks. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun
2
one.
weeks. Yeah.
Alrighty then. Well, we will see you all very soon, and bye bye.